Yo, what's good, everybody? I pray that you guys are having a wonderful day. It is Monday, December 31st, New Year's Eve. And during this time, when people usually are approach this time of year, this is a time where people normally reflect on the past year, reflect on the previous year, their successes, progress toward goals that are made, but also, goals that were missed, how they can adjust to reach those goals in the next year, or things that that don't necessarily serve them any good, that they need to let go of, and so forth and so on. And so that's the time of year that this time of year usually is, or brings out. Also, it could be a time of real depression for a lot of people. A lot of people can feel really depressed because during this time of year, they feel like, their life changed in a really drastic way that they don't know how they'll be able to come back from. They might have lost a loved one. They might have lost a job. They might have lost their house. They might have lost a relationship or what have you. Friends might have left them or changed on them in a certain way that has them feeling so detached from everything that they don't even know how they'll be able to go on. And those are the people that I wanted to make this video for right now. It's numbers out there that talks about during the holiday season how the numbers for depression spikes during this time of year. And a lot of times that's because, like I said previously, people's lives change in such a way that they don't feel like they have anything to be thankful for. They don't have any family anymore. They don't have any friends that they used to have and all that stuff. So they feel like this is a time where they see everybody else is kind of like really enjoying life, and they don't know how they can enjoy life or enjoy life any further. I was at that point in 2009. 2009 was a really rough year for me. And at the end of that year, I had made plans to take my own life, to commit suicide. On December 31st, actually on the 1st, I had made plans to, the 1st of 2010, I had made those plans to commit suicide. Like came up with the plans on the 30th and the 31st of December of 2009, and I was going to do it on the 1st of 2010, and just end it because of the way things have shaped and worked out that year. That year, like I said, was a really rough year for me. My mom had a heart procedure during that year. My sister and went into a coma for like a week, a few days to a week. And I found out that actually that was the year that my marriage that I had ended. I found out earlier that year, it was around the same time that my sister went into that coma, that my wife had an affair during our first year of marriage. Now, during that year, we were trying to work out everything, but I still had all this anger and this frustration dealing with that. And on the top of that, trying to be there for my family who was going through, but I could not. And so I was angry with myself. I was angry with my ex-wife. I was angry with my family. I was angry with a lot of things. And I was feeling so depressed because I did not feel like I had somebody that I could talk to. I did not feel that I had an outlet that I can share with. All I had was my word that I was reading, prayers to God that I was praying, but other than that, I didn't feel like I could talk to anybody. Now, I know a lot of you might be saying, well, weren't you in the church, man? You couldn't talk to your pastor? Well, the year before that, we had left the church that we were at, the church that I was licensed at, church where we got married at, to go to another church to see if we could try to work on our marriage or whatnot, because we had saw things. Now, this was before she said anything about the affair, but I can tell some things had happened and some changes had happened. And so we had went to another church to try to work on our marriage. We thought it was going to be something for that. But the church that we were at, I felt even more alone than I did before. And so when all of that kind of hit the fan, I felt like I really didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't have any outlets. I was so depressed and filled with anxiety that it was ridiculous. Even so much to a point where I think around September, I remember taking her son out to play basketball, and we were at the basketball court. And when you're playing with little kids, you got to be careful, because they could do something crazy and they end up messing you up. And that's exactly what happened. Like, I had him shooting at the rim, and then there was this other little kid that came and started shooting at the rim. So it was two balls going up to the rim and all that stuff. And so one of the balls hit the bottom of the rim and ricocheted off so fast. All I did was turn around, look up, and it popped me in the eye, bust open my cornea, whatever it was called. I think it's the cornea or whatever, the middle of the eye. And so I went to the emergency room. They saw it was open. They put they gave me Vicodin. They gave me like 10 Vicodin or whatever. And they put a contact over my eye so that my eye wouldn't rub while it was healing. So it wouldn't agitate it. It wouldn't hurt as much, but it was still hurting the first couple of days. Now, legitly, I really only need those Vicodin for the first 2 days. But after those first 2 days, I was still filled with so much anxiety and so much pain and so much anger and so much pressure that I was down in the rest of those Vicodin. I'd say probably about once a week until they were done around like October, November, to try to kind of just ease the pain, not the physical pain, but the emotional pain that I was feeling, the anger that I was feeling, the depression that I was feeling, all that stuff that I was feeling. Um, and I know a lot of y'all saved and y'all never had to do nothing like that. Y'all never felt like y'all had to do something like that. But I'm talking to the unsaved folks that's in the back of the room that might be looking at this, and you might be going through something that is causing you that type of anxiety at this point, and you're truly contemplating taking your life or committing suicide or whatever, or killing yourself, just like I was contemplating killing myself. So at this point, we're at the end of the year. I found out some other stuff that was happening with my wife, and we separated. And I remember the day she had called me. She had told me what was going on. I told her, like, man, you got to go. you got to get out the house. You can't stay here no more. You can't stay. You got to go. And I was on my way. Like, I went back into the job. I forgot what I said, but I said something to get them to let me go home or whatever. And I didn't even tell them I was sick. I told them somebody was at the hospital or something. I don't know. But they let me go home, and I was on my way to do something that would have had me having a prison ministry at this particular time. Like, I was legit on my way, and I don't know how it happened. I think my boy Hakeem called me, and he called me, and I just told him everything. I told him everything that was happening. Now, this was the first time that I had told anybody about the stuff that was going on throughout that year. This was the very first time. Like, I told some people about, my sister going into the coma and the heart procedure that my mom had, but I told nobody about the marriage situation and the affair and trying to work on that and all that stuff. This was the first time. This was a few days after my birthday in December. And I was just feeling so angry. I was about to go do something stupid, and he was like, "No, man, you need to come here, man. You're not, man. You go and do what you're gonna do. It don't matter what happened after that. You're gonna probably end up with a prison ministry. So you might as well come here." So I went to his house, stayed there for a few hours, just talking to him, talking to his wife and whatnot. And at this point, this was the only person that I talked to. After that, I think I talked to two more people, my mom about it and my Pastor Lynn. And those were the only people that I talked to about it for about 6 months. Nobody else knew about anything that had happened during that time, until like I want to say the summertime or whatnot. But anyway, so I go home. I come home after all of that stuff. She has her stuff. She's leaving out, and I'm just in the house, and I'm just kind of like bawling a bit. This is like the middle of December. Now, the stuff had started before Thanksgiving, so I didn't go to my family's house. Didn't really go anywhere for Thanksgiving. I just stayed at home, and doing my birthday stuff was just not right during that time. And like, we're approaching December, we're approaching Christmas or whatnot, and that's when I actually told my mom, because we're separated. Me and my wife are separated at this point, so I'm not bringing her with me, and I didn't want her to ask me any questions, so I just told her. I told her not to tell my sisters and nobody. And so I'm dealing with all this, and I'm still trying to put on a face. But I'm just really, really hurting at this point. I'm really, really down at this point. Talking to Pastor Lynn out in Philly, talking to my boy Hakeem, and at this point, I started to see like a Christian counselor or whatnot, trying to talk to them. But I'm really hurting at this point. I'm really depressed. I'm really angry because throughout the year, my family, they were feeling some type of way that I wasn't there as much as I could have. They felt I should have been because of them, because of what was going on with them. But I didn't tell them about the situation that was happening with me at home with my wife. And so I felt like I just didn't have anybody to talk to. I felt like it would have been better for me to just end it all right then, and me to go through the rest of that season trying to pick up the pieces, so to speak, because I didn't know what the pieces were. I didn't know if I was going to end things with my wife. I didn't know if I was going to, what was going to happen. I was working at a job that I hated, where I wasn't making that much money. I didn't know where I was going to move to if I moved. It was just a lot of stuff that was going on. So I felt like it would be easier if I just take my life and killed myself. And so I made the plans towards the end of the year. I didn't have any more Vicodin, so I was like, man, I'm just gonna go pick up some like ibuprofen or something like that. I thank God that I didn't think about alcohol during that time, because that would have probably developed a dependency that went far beyond that. But I thank God that I didn't think about it at that point. But I was like, man, I'm just gonna get me a couple of pills, and I'm going to down those, or not a couple of pills, a bottle of ibuprofen, down those, and then just wait. You know what I'm saying? See what happens. And and a few things happened at that point. The first thing was I remember the prophecy that was spoken to me. I want to say right before October, towards the beginning of October. Me and my ex-wife, we were sitting in the place and we were trying to work things out. Things seemed like it was getting better at that point. And the guy was talking about, the ministry. Oh, you're going to do this and you're going to do that and this woo woo bam bam and all that and thank you ma'am, all that stuff. I was like, oh. And then I thought about the prophecy that the Lord, the dream that Joseph had before all the hell that he had to go through. And I thought about it. Well, I guess a lot of things that happened had to happen to prepare me to wherever the Lord is supposed to take me. I don't know. I was foolish in that, at least foolish towards the things of God. And the Bible tells us that the foolishness of God is wiser than the wisdom of men. That's something that you got to catch. You got to really understand that. The second thing is, I remember that New Year's Eve, my pastor out in Philly, he had this blog talk radio, and he put together like some things where he was just talking and really just encouraging people. And I don't even remember what the man said, to be quite honest, but he said something that kind of sparked in me to like, man, no, we need to keep going forward because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And God can turn this whole thing around tomorrow. I have no clue. So at that point, I was just like, well, I'm just going, I'm going to try. I'm going to try. That's all I had. I was just like, I couldn't even guarantee. I couldn't even say I'm going to do. I was just like, I'm going to try. I'm going to try not to take myself out. I remember even after that in the following year, like I would go up to the lake and still just sit there and visualize me driving off the lake on 31st first into the driving off the drive part and the rocks and whatnot into the lake on 31st Street. But I didn't do it. Obviously, I'm still here. But I thought about that. I'm like, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to overcome this. I'm gonna try to trust God. I'm gonna try to overcome this. Even though at that point it was hard because I was broken. I was angry at a lot of people and I was angry at God at the same time because all this stuff, Lord, why'd you let this happen? That's what a lot of people, they feel like when they get to that point. Lord, why did you let this happen to me? But the third thing is, and this was something that was real key for me in that season at that time, like legit key for me at that time. And that was the scripture in James chapter 1 where it says, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations and tests, knowing this, that the testing of your faith worketh patience, but let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect or mature in all things and lacking nothing. I remember reading that scripture and I was reading it over and over, trying to get it into my spirit, to try to keep myself alive, to keep myself from killing myself. I'm serious. I was trying to keep myself from killing myself. And it just kind of clicked like, well, if that's the case, then this is not just for me. And I didn't see it then. I didn't see it like a couple of years after that, 1, 2, 3 years from after that. But over the course of the last year or two, the Lord began to like put people in my path that I've went through or going through similar situations, where it be a family, whether it be in relationships or marriages that ended or anything, stuff like that. And just put me in their lives as a place of encouragement toward them. Telling them like, man, it won't end right now. People that I've been contemplating like, man, this marriage, should I stay with them, blah, 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 blah. The Lord has been able to use me during the course of this last year or two, where I've been able to encourage a lot of people close to me and those people that I just met like one off, and give them just encouraging words, and not just encouraging words from the standpoint of, yo, this is what the Bible says and what I think. These are things that I know because I lived them. You know what I'm saying? I was at that place where, because that marriage ended and the way that it ended, the way that I felt like I was rejected by the churches that I was a part of during that time, and because I didn't have anybody to talk to, and because of that being compounded with the situation with my mom and my sister and all of that stuff, I felt like I was at a point where I was breaking. I was at a point where I was breaking. I was broken. I was legit broken. But the only thing that kept me during that time was just hope in the Lord, man. And because of that hope in the Lord, the place that I am now is at a place that, man, I wouldn't even think about taking my life. like real talk. I wouldn't even think about that right now. And to think about where I was at that point at the end of 2009, I remember at the beginning of this year, I broke down in tears because I remember where I was at that point. And some of you might be at that point today. I want to encourage you that your life, everything that happens in life is just a season, meaning that it ends. I'm going to say that again. Everything that happens in life is just a season, meaning that it ends. All of those things are temporary. They will not last, but you can make decisions in those seasons, and those decisions are what will last. Those decisions is what will cause you to be messed up throughout those seasons. I mean, even after those seasons are over. So I want to encourage you to look to God and not look to your circumstances. Look to God and not even the negative people that might be around you that are egging the foolishness of the enemy on. Because what the enemy wants to do is to steal, kill, and destroy. Meaning he wants to take you out before you ever even have a chance to fulfill your purpose. And God created us for a purpose. God created us for a reason. Had I just taken myself out, then the people that I've encouraged just over the course of these past few years wouldn't have might have done something crazy and taken themselves out. If I've done that, then the folks that might be watching this, that might be on the verge of taking themselves out and don't because of this video, you might have taken yourself out. So I want to encourage you. The things that you deal with are temporary. The decisions that you make in those seasons, however, can have a lasting effect if you choose the wrong, even if you choose the right thing, it'll have a lasting effect, you know? So I want you to really think about that. I want to really encourage you that although this year might not have been the best year, this year might not have been the year that you felt like, oh man, everything was gonna come together, and it didn't. Man, I felt like this relationship, we was gonna go to the next level, and it ended. I felt like I was gonna get this promotion at the job, and it ended. I lost my house, I lost my car, my wife walked out on me, my husband walked out on me, the kids ran away, all that stuff. Everything happened. And yes, it did happen. And yes, you have the right to be upset about it. Yes, you have the right to be frustrated by it. Yes, you have the right to be just a little bit, feeling a certain type of way about it. But God can handle it. God can handle your anger. God can handle your frustrations. God can handle your anxieties. He can handle all of it if you trust him. And it might be hard to trust him at first, but it takes those first few hard steps to begin to see the goodness of the Lord. Well, that's all I got today, man. I hope that you guys were encouraged by this video. I hope that, whatever you're going through, you have to understand that it is not worth taking yourself out, because I was at that place. I was literally at that place at the end of 2009. I was about to kill myself, but I didn't. And I am glad. I'm sure my family is glad. At least I think they are. The people that I've met over the course of these past few years that, that I might have had some type of positive influence or impact in their life, I'm sure they're glad. So somebody in your future will be glad that you make the decision to stay versus leaving if you trust God. God bless you guys and enjoy your new year.